chance to ask any questions that you have. Saving money, couponing, the sky's the limit. We are going to go through a number of things tonight, kind of to get us ready for holiday mode. We tend to, about this time every year, kind of do a budget check-in. So that's what we're going to call tonight, and look at ways that you could be making some extra money. If when you look into the budget, things are not looking good, just some ways that maybe we could make it look better before Christmas rolls around. I will say most retail stores, if you're willing to go there, they are officially hiring for holiday season. So this is kind of the perfect time to be thinking about, do I need some extra income and what does that look like? I know I walked into Target tonight and they had a big, what do we call those? Like sandwich board sign up that they are paying up to $15 an hour or starting at $15 an hour. I don't even remember what the picture said now. But even Target's hiring. I know that retail and holidays, that takes a special person. I don't know that I would want to be jumping in, but that isn't a bad starting rate either for a holiday position. So we'll talk all of that. We're going to talk budgets, and then any questions that you have, feel free to leave them in the comments, and either I will see them or my husband will see them. And between the two of us, that's the goal, is that he's like a backup, and really sometimes he's the one that catches them more than I do, so that I can get you an answer. I am okay if your questions are off topic. We do not all have to be in budget land. We can talk about anything you want tonight. So you just ask away, and we'll jump wherever the questions take us and then come back. So we are going to start in budget mode. Every time we talk budgets, my go-to budget is a printable that you can get from Dave Ramsey's site. And we'll stick the link up to it and I'll show you it online too. But seriously, print it out and fill it in. And guys, this is something, just to give you an idea too, I did this with my teenagers earlier today. I asked them if I could share their sample budget. So thinking about, as they move on and they think about what they want to do for a living, I had them play around with, let's assume that you make a $40,000 salary after taxes. What's that going to look like a month? And play around with, what this means for them when they come out to what they can handle each month. So, it's good for us as adults, but it's good for our kids too. Just to mention that. Now, what this looks like for you, I'm going to pull up their website and just show you what their site looks like and what this monthly cash flow looks like. But in general, my goal tonight is to really talk about ways that we could cut some of these categories. Obviously, it's October. It's never a bad time to start budgeting, but I really want to approach tonight as if you've got some kind of budget, but it's just not really playing out. Or have you even looked at it? Have you even approached where you are on your budget for the year? What things are looking like as we go into the end of the year? For our budget, we've got some big things that hit us all in the last 3 months, every year. So if we went in kind of blindsided on where we were financially, it's only going to get worse, and it doesn't include the holidays. So I don't know how this fits in for y'all, but a big one, I've mentioned this in the past, but we do not escrow our property taxes or our house insurance. Well, property taxes are going to come due in December for most folks. They do for us. If we are not making sure that we're tucking that money aside, then December's just going to be bad all around, having to pay that one big property tax bill all at one time. So for us, it's knowing that we have those payments, and planning ahead makes those payments happen. If you've got that escrowed, obviously that one's not going to be painful. Your escrow is going to handle that for you. That's the purpose of escrow. But if you didn't, you need to be saving up for it. Another one that hits us, we pay it once a year, is life insurance. So if that's a big once a year payment. We pay our car and our house insurance all at one time. We don't pay these monthly. The reason for this, they lower your payments. It's cheaper to pay them one big payment versus paying monthly. So we do that, but to be able to do that, we got to have a plan. So because so many of these things come due around the holidays, we really have to have a plan. And if you're in that same boat, I hope you've already been planning. But looking at your budget, this link, there we go. My husband just stuck it in the comments for you. If you wanted to print it out, if you wanted to play with it, if you've never done a budget, this is a great place to get started. In terms of saying that I use this with my kids, they didn't even know what categories you would need. Now, the one that I did with them, if you notice, it's actually slightly different than this one that I'm showing you. This is like literally you've never done a budget before, but there are some things missing. And I was explaining that to one of my girls because she said, Mama, I plugged everything in, and she is assuming that she's gonna have a roommate, which that is the moral of the story. If you're young, you should have a roommate. But she's like, Mama, I've got like $1,000 left over. She's sitting pretty and she's sitting kind of tight too on some things. But I mentioned to her, there's no category here on that quick start budget. That is also a Dave Ramsey form, but it's not the one that I just shared with you. There's no category for gifts. There's no category for a lot of little things that we don't think about. How many of you guys have a Christmas budget or a birthday and gift budget in that you've either written out or that you mentally think of? I'd love to know what that is for you guys. If you are, sometimes I guess I can always remember, I want to pay like $15 a gift, but have you sat down and said, okay, this is all the money that we have for the holidays? I don't know that a lot of folks do that, but we should. I'm not saying, that if you ran out of money, grandma doesn't get a present, because grandma might like a present, but maybe it helps you to be a little bit more frugal as you're trying to spread whatever that bulk amount that you've given yourself, to spread it across all the gifts. Or maybe you start to think, some of these folks we could make handmade gifts for, and some folks we could actually buy them, maybe it helps you narrow that down a little bit to actually set an amount. So if you have one, I would love to know what yours is, what your holiday / we're gonna throw in birthdays too. I don't know if you've done that, but what does that budget look like for you guys? What are you hoping to be under maybe for holiday purchases? Steve's also mentioning, sick animals, having a budget for that. I don't even know, Steve, if Dave has that on this. Let's see, we've got medical and health, but I don't see pets there. I'm kind of curious where he's even, pets make it under personal, but as pet supplies, not necessarily as, having a fund for sick animals. But I agree with you that everyone should. My father-in-law would too. He's a vet, and he gets to see the folks that you want to do what you need to do, but you've definitely not budgeted for it. That's a really hard place to be in. So looking at your budget, as you are going through and you're starting to see where are we for the end of the year, what are some things that we could do to make some cuts last minute? That's really where I wanted us to go here. We have the concept of, obviously, we want a set amount in each of these categories. Some things don't change. Your rent doesn't change in theory, your mortgage doesn't change, but there are some things that we could do to lower those expenses. So just some quick kind of I'm just gonna roll through them, but if you've got some ideas too, chime in. I would love to hear them. In terms of ways to cut your budget or questions, those are fine too. For me, to roll through some of the top categories, the biggest category that you may not realize this in your budget is your housing category. For most of us, that number needs to be about 25 to 35% of what you make. So if your housing category is way over where it should be, then you really need to be looking at either some big changes or small changes, something that we can do to bring down that housing category. Keep in mind that includes your mortgage or your rent, insurance, repairs, taxes, homeowner association dues, all of that's getting into that one section for household. So what are some quick things that you could do if you're over budget there? Obviously, the biggest is move. This isn't the ideal time to do that. It's usually in the summer and late fall. But we have a few friends that are in the real estate industry, and they will still say, houses are kind of flying in the South anyway. I know for us in South Carolina that folks are putting them on the market and they're selling or under contract within just a couple days. So, if that's where things went, if we really needed to look at downsizing to reduce some expenses, this is still a good time to consider refinancing as well. So that is a big decision. There are a lot of refinance calculators out there that will let you plug in and see how that fits for you. And obviously a lot of them are through different companies that offer loans. So one that I like in general is on NerdWallet. I also like bankrate.com. They have a number of calculators on both of those sites, but we'll give you one link in general. But a refinance calculator lets you kind of plug in how much have you paid towards your mortgage, how much do you have left, what's your current interest rate, what are interest rates at now. So the hope would be that they're lower than when you got your mortgage, but this could mean a significant savings for you in your monthly expenses. So, obviously I don't know what your mortgage rate is, but I know for us, the rates have almost dropped by I think 1.5%, if not more than that, from when we got our mortgage. I was actually gonna pull up really quick and see where they are currently. It looks like a 30-year fixed is as low as 2.6%, which is crazy. If you've got a mortgage that's at the 4% or higher, this is significant in terms of refinancing and lowering your monthly payment. You're not necessarily increasing debt, except there are closing costs factored into refinancing. And that's why I say you need to at least do the calculator that I mentioned and see how it fits in for you. But, just getting an idea of what's out there. So this is Bankrate that I mentioned, but this is just to see what are, and it auto filled in various things. I don't live in that zip code and that wouldn't be my loan. But it's just kind of it'll do the same thing probably when you pull it up, but it's giving you kind of best case scenario where rates are right now. And you could get an idea of what that would mean for you on a monthly basis. So if we're looking at, ends are not meeting, this year's been a really weird year for a lot of folks, and we need to cut our budget, then just your household budget in general, being able to reduce your mortgage, that's a long-term savings that for a lot of folks would be a significant savings. If you are looking at dropping an entire percentage point, you could be talking $100 or more a month just in your mortgage, which is huge. So just to mention that one, I'm not encouraging you to necessarily run out and do it, but at least look into it because it is a very worthwhile savings for a lot of folks. Smaller options would be maybe look at getting a roommate. I'm trying to drill that into my 15-year-olds right now. You're planning to go to college, and after college, even when you graduate, have a roommate. It's huge. I know it's not always fun. Now, they've always shared a room, so, be a roommate with your twin sister. And I even mentioned you don't have to share a room at that point. You're both making money. You could have your own room, but just splitting those costs. It's the same for adults. We may not want a roommate. We may like our personal space, but the idea of cutting your rent and your utilities and everything in half is pretty huge. And guys, even for families, so if you've got an extra room, there's still the potential of taking on a renter as well. And there's some unique ways to do this. So if you live in an area that has private schools in the area, you may be surprised to learn, but a lot of private schools have international students. And I don't mean colleges, high schools. A lot of private high schools have international students. They're coming to the United States. They're even paying room and board, and their room and board ends up putting them in people's houses. So it's like you're taking a foreign exchange student almost, but you're taking in a high schooler. You do have to think about that. You're taking in a high schooler. They're going to still be a teenager. But they're paying you to live in your house. And that can be a significant chunk of change that can help you pay some other bills. You are responsible for feeding this person, but they're paying you for that too. Now, I know it's October, so it's not really the key time to pick up that type of boarding person, but there could be other people out there, singles that are in your church, or folks that might be moving to the area for a job, especially, think even at the end of the term when we've got some students graduating from school at the fall break, and then again in the spring, they're looking for a job and they're broke. How many of us, when we got out of school, whether it was high school and you went straight into the marketplace or college, you had nothing. So being able to find cheap rent, even if it's just using someone's spare bedroom, there are a lot of college students that would jump on that too, and it's a way that you can make some extra money. A few other options, if you don't want to go big, you don't want to bring somebody in, you could look at reducing some of the other portions of the household budget. And one in particular that you may not think about is your home insurance. So when it comes to insurances in general, this is one of the few bills that I always recommend looking at renegotiating every single year. Calling around, seeing what other rates are every single year for your home insurance and your car insurance. You should also potentially look at keeping those together. You do get a reduced rate for having multiple line items with the insurance companies, but it doesn't always mean that keeping them together is the best option either. So you need to kind of do some hunting and figure out who has the best rates for you every year, and realize that it will change. I know that it's a pain to make those changes, but if you're looking at a couple $100 twice a year, you usually make those payments every 6 months or monthly if you're making them monthly, but just look into it. So a few things that you can do to reduce those rates even more is increasing your deductibles, obviously, looking at on your home insurance, what are the coverages on certain things. Sometimes they have them just set as kind of like their blanket fill-in coverages, but those may not actually be what you need. So if you look at those coverages and you realize like, whoa, it's covering like $10,000 worth of jewelry and you don't even own that, make some changes. Let's go through line by line with your home insurance guy on the phone. This is their job, and say like, nope, we don't really need $10,000 in jewelry coverage. We don't have an outbuilding that we would need coverage for. Making sure that it really does line up for what you have is a huge way. And these are little dollar items here and there, but in the end, they add up. So making sure that it is exactly the policy you need, because so often when they fill these in, they are kind of like just a blank form. They always use the same numbers. They don't really mess with them unless you kind of sit down and say, no, let's mess with them. I'm willing to spend the 10 minutes that this is going to take. That's going to save you a lot of money to do that. Dana, great question. Do I recommend renter's insurance since it is optional? I do. Renter's insurance is actually super cheap. A general renter's insurance policy for the whole year might end up being like a couple $100, if that. And in the end, it protects you, because what happens if you own a rental property, you have to have insurance. The mortgage company is going to require that whoever owns the house has insurance on the structure. But the person who has the insurance on the structure of your rental does not cover anything inside your rental. So let's say that a tree falls on the roof and the house is flooded and all of your stuff is destroyed. Well, their policy covers the walls and the roof. It does not cover the stuff inside, because that's you. That's not the homeowner. If your house is broken into, so your renter's policy is protecting your stuff, not necessarily the house. That's why it's so cheap. Again, with a renter's policy, you'd want to go through and say, no, I don't have a massive jewelry collection and I don't have a huge china collection. Be really specific with what you want it to cover, what the max value you feel like your stuff is worth. Obviously for me, like fresh out of college, that renter's policy, I would have been like, I don't know, it's all worth like probably $1,000. Everything was from Goodwill. I don't have any, but you still probably have a computer. You've got other things that do have value. So that's why you want to do it. It is not worth not paying for and then all of a sudden losing everything that you had. So definitely keep a renter's insurance policy or get one if you don't have one and you're renting. And Wendy, looking down at the comments, Wendy's saying in 1982 when they purchased their home, mortgage rates were 16%. Yeah, I would hope at this point you have paid off the mortgage a long time ago or refinanced. Definitely. I'm so glad we don't live in the 1980s, which was one of the peaks for mortgage rates in general. But the crazy 2.6% that we are right now, it is not going to stay that low. I would imagine this time next year, mortgage rates will be back in the potential 4.5. That's where they had been hovering for the last few years. So 2.67, I think, is what bank rate just had. That's a really good mortgage rate. I'm not telling folks to go out and buy a house right now. That's a really big question and really depends on how stable you feel like your job is and your income is. But if you already have a mortgage, it could definitely be a time to reconsider. Okay, so to dive into a few other categories, obviously house is a big one, but a few other things. Utilities on a house at this point, we are going into the winter, and that is where for a lot of folks, your heating, air, those bills just start to skyrocket. For us, sometimes it's cooling our house in the summer that gets to be really, really the worst part of the year for us. But heating can be for other folks. So you need to look at becoming super efficient. Depending on the area that you're in, there are a lot of electricity companies that offer free home energy audits. And I have mentioned these before. I know Duke Energy offers them. I am not 100% sure on all of the energy companies that are out there, but you can call your electricity company and just ask, do you offer energy audits? Duke in particular, when they give you an energy audit, they come into the house. This is free, so you should get one. And they assess everywhere. Do your windows have leaks? They've got a little heat sensor that they'll even walk around with. And you get freebies from it. So a lot of times when they come in and they do this, you end up with free LED lights. You end up with free like insulated little thingy-doos. I don't know what we're going to call them, but they go behind your electric sockets. Have you ever really thought about that? It's like a hole in your wall. But these are little insulated pads that you put right behind your electric covers and your light switch plates and provide some insulation. They'll give you other little gadgets and doodads that they may have as well during those energy audits. And one other thing, while we're looking at our electricity company, you'll see all of this on their websites too, but look and see if they're offering any energy rebates. So if you are looking at, maybe we need a new water heater, we need a new appliance, whatever it might be, look there first. We're going into Black Friday. Some of these things are actually going to be on sale in the next month, but go to your electricity's website first and see if they're offering any discounts if you choose Energy Star or you make the switch from a traditional water heater to goodness, words are gone for me tonight. Like Renai, the type of instant water heaters. That's what they do, but I don't think that's their actual name. You know what I'm talking about. But see, you will see them all listed on their websites. So for us, we now have Dominion Energy in South Carolina. Tankless, thank you. My husband's helping me out with words tonight that I do not have. But if you head to their website, just search their sites even for energy efficient rebates or the word rebates, you will see whatever they're currently offering. These are generally being offered by your electricity company, so they will vary based on where you are and who is your energy provider, but it's worth looking into. Some of that can be a significant cost savings month over month. And then the last thing on electricity anyway is, I mention this every time we talk budgets, but you need to turn on budget billing. So budget billing, I would imagine, is offered by every electricity company and even some water providers, where your monthly bill is the same amount every month. They look at how much you paid over the whole year and they divide by 12. This way, yes, some months you're technically overpaying, but then come Christmas and it's snowing outside, you are not going to get hit with an electricity bill that really, really kills your budget. Your electricity bill is always the same amount. It's never a hold your breath moment while you open the envelope. And what that's doing for you is keeping you from blowing your budget one month and then having to figure out what you're going to do to make other payments. You know, I've still got to pay the cell phone bill. I've still got to pay all these other bills, but the electricity bill just eat up half of all the money that we have. That's not going to happen. Budget billing, it exists. Take advantage of it. You should have turned it on years ago. That's what you're going to feel like once you finally turn it on. But that's a big one. And Wendy's got a good tip. And I mentioned this the last time, and then my husband afterwards was like, I don't know. We have issues with our county. But Wendy's saying, be sure that your county has your house listed correctly. That's for your taxes and your assessments. She said for 36 years, they were charged for a fireplace and they don't have one. So they checked with other homeowner businesses and kind of went through and had the county relist the house correctly. That changes your tax assessments so that you are not overpaying. Now, what I mentioned the last time, and my husband was like, I don't know, our county is just so difficult, was that you could potentially, if you felt like they were assessing your house at too high a rate, or that they just did a massive jump, that you could ask for a reassessment. They will do that, but that does not guarantee that they will side with you, and could end up getting you more than you even bargained for on that one. So, but I love your experience, Wendy, in that just going through and finding one thing that they were assessing, because this is just a computer program where they're deciding that this is worth this much and this is worth that much, and then you don't even have it. That's great. Just let's get rid of that. It doesn't need to be something that you're paying for. So huge way to save. So to kind of move on, one other thing that I wanted to mention, and this kind of affects me. This is one that I have a hard time with. So we live out in the country. I have shared that with you guys before, but we live so far out in the country that we don't actually have blinds on all of our windows. We don't even have curtains on a lot of our windows because I didn't want them. We don't have neighbors. No one can see in. But when it comes to winter, one of the cheapest things that you can do to make your house warmer is curtains. We will see them for $5 on sale, and you putting up a curtain over the window, you've just added an instant layer of insulation. So whether you want to have open and airy windows or not, you're choosing to pay more. So in the winter, at least, let's put up some curtains. This is basically, we could go super intense. You'll see folks that will put up plastic sheeting over their windows in the winter. That's exactly what they're doing. They're kind of making an extra seal of air between the house and the window. But your curtain does that for you. The very first house that my husband and I ever rented when we were newlyweds, you would just sit in the living room and you would turn into an ice cube. But the minute we put up curtains, that room could actually start to hold in some heat. So spend $5 for a couple panels and get them hung. They don't even have to be cute. And you will be surprised how much warmer a room will stay just because you hung some curtains. So we do not need to spend a ton of money. That doesn't have to be a huge household project. You just got some curtains hung up. So, okay, we'll move through some other categories. I won't keep hitting you on the utilities, but I know those are some big chunks for us. Those are the big bills that come in. Some other ones that potentially you could lower for the next couple of months. I mean, obviously we could all become hardcore couponers. I'd be okay with that. I was trying to get my 15-year-olds to see that too. Like, oh, you could totally live on this much on your grocery budget, but I don't know. We'll see how much has kind of stuck with them when they leave the house. But for you, it could be potentially, for the month of October, let's just take it 1 month at a time. Let's try not to eat out. Let's try to save our eating out money, all of it, from a cup of coffee down to a whole meal, to have extra money for either bills that are going to come in or to have more money for presents, whatever it is. But let's not eat out. Another one, this is a tricky one for some folks, is yes, you may have been great and you cut the cable, but how many things are you paying for monthly for streaming or other entertainment that you don't even think about? They're just a cost, but they were like $6 here and $5 there. They add up. So if you're paying for, Kindle Unlimited on Amazon, they are running a deal for Prime Days that they've already started. But if you're paying the $10 a month for Kindle Unlimited, nix it. Even if it's just for a few months, nix it. Use the library. There are so many ways to get free ebooks. Use the library. We've actually posted that. So go look on the site, and there's just a ton of resources for free ebooks and free audiobooks. So you can take the 4 months for 99 cents. That's the offer they're running for Prime Days. But beyond that, don't pay $10 a month. If you're looking at, you're paying for Netflix and you're paying for Amazon Prime and you're paying for, how about if you just pick one streaming program for the next month, and you could switch that up and go with a different streaming program the next month. But, all of us have been so good and we've cut our cable, but all we've done is just really add up to where we're still paying the same amount that we once were. So bring back your entertainment budget. You may not have even put them in that category, but that's what it is. These are not a need. They're just a want. So rein them back in. Give yourself a limit of maybe 2, whatever. We don't watch a lot of TV. So this is an easy one for me to be able to say like, oh yeah. We actually turned off our Netflix over a year ago. And I have to say we don't really miss it. Sorry if you work there, but we don't. For us, we tend to use a lot of the free apps that are available through Roku. Like Pluto TV is one that our kids love. They've got a old-timey channel, and the girls will sit down and watch Flipper for numerous episodes if we let them in a row. So it's like going back to your childhood for some of us. But it's there, and it's free. So look into that. There's This Old House channel. You can literally watch it all day and all night long if you wanted to. So, why pay? If they're just going to have all these free options for you, just look into it. Be willing to look into it. It would be a significant savings for you. Okay. Let's see. And I agree. So, Mary, those were some of mine. Definitely get roommates and rent rooms to college students. This is a huge way to save on your household budget. All the way around, anytime we can have somebody else helping to pay the bills is big for everybody. So let's talk big ticket items though. So as we come into the holidays, I know that there are a lot of folks that say, when is a good time to get this? And when is a good time to get that? So some of you guys have actually been holding off and waiting to get electronics, to get a new appliance, whatever it might be. So if you've been doing that, how are you saving up for them? Have you been budgeting for them? Are you just hoping that you're going to get a deal? Is that money set aside? So one thing to encourage you on before we switch to just some ways that you could be making some new money, the one thing to encourage you on is to set up a way that you are saving for big ticket purchases that is separate from your actual savings account. So if you have an actual savings account for emergency funds or whatever you're doing, that you're actually putting money somewhere else. Because I don't want you to look at your emergency fund and then think like, oh, we're doing great. No, we actually need some money set aside that we don't touch. It is there for emergencies, but it is not there because you want a new TV. Not an emergency, sorry. So making sure that you've taken that time to set up that emergency fund. Now, some folks, Dave being the biggest guy here, Dave Ramsey would say you need 6 months set aside. That's really hard. That is not something that most households are going to be able to do, even within a couple years, to set aside 6 months of your income. I would say bare minimum is setting aside what your deductible is for your health insurance, or ideal, your max out of pocket for your health insurance. Let's assume that something went horribly wrong and you end up in the hospital tomorrow. That is the number one way that families end up in debt. Medical debt is what tends to, it hits you spur of the moment. You are not prepared for the just overall cost of it, and all of a sudden you're behind. But if that became your goal, of whatever your deductible is, whatever your max out of pocket is, having that tucked aside. If I don't need it this year, then I am set for next year. But having that as your goal, and then for these other big ticket items that you're thinking of, having a separate savings account. So we could still be working towards those goals too, but we're not just assuming that all of this in the emergency fund is happy money, because it doesn't need to be. It needs to just sit there. And have separate accounts. So one way that we have done that is using online money market accounts through even online banks. There are a number of online banks that are out there. This makes that money slightly harder to touch, so that you're not looking at it in just your normal little savings account attached to your checking account and thinking you're loaded. It's in a separate bank. I'm not even looking at that number unless I go and log in to that bank, which you're not going to do on a regular basis. You can set up automatic withdrawals from your checking account to that online bank. And generally, if you need that money, you can get it out and sent to your normal bank in like 2 to 3 days. That's what most of them will have you wait. So you'll tell them to transfer it, and 2 to 3 days later, it will appear in your checking account. Perfect. It's not, you're not going to go into the hospital and they're not going to demand payment that moment. 2 to 3 days is going to be okay, and it's all going to work out. But this way, if I wanted to spend it, I have to ponder, is this really worth touching the big savings account for, the emergency rainy day savings account? Or is this something that I could save up in my normal bank savings account? Another perk of going with the online accounts is that they tend to have higher interest rates than your local brick and mortar banks. Not opposed to a brick and mortar bank at all, but they do. The online banks, they don't have as much overhead when they don't have a ton of branches, and you will get higher interest rates because of that. So it's worth looking into. In terms of those rates as well, I mentioned Bankrate earlier for refinance rates, but Bankrate really it's a great website. And you can come, I have their site kind of in mobile mode because I've got it shrunk down, but you can come and you can click on banking, and then you can tell it what you want. I want a money market account. And it will show you the current rates for money market accounts, the best accounts that they're currently saying. Rates are not super good right now, and they're not going to be. When we see mortgage rates super low, savings rates are going to be like next to nothing. But it's still giving you some ideas of what those banks are that you could go to for money markets. You can kind of come in and look at just general rates too for CDs and other things. I'm not a huge fan of CDs in terms of looking at a CD rate versus looking at a money market rate. You're going to actually notice here the CD rates are almost the same. So with a CD, if you've ever looked into these, you can't touch that money for a year. Well, if they're not going to give you any incentive, they're not going to give you a higher interest rate to not touch a CD, you might as well have the money market account. It's the exact same interest rate. And if you needed the funds, you could get them. Just go that route. Right now, with the way that interest rates are, having any other form of lockdown savings is not really worth it in the end. The point of an emergency fund is to be able to access it without added fees or costs. So just go with an online money market account or savings account, and you'll get a pretty decent rate through that. Okay. And yes, thank you, Diane. That was the next one on my list. So November 1st is the start of open enrollment for health insurance. So as we are looking at ways to cut costs, this could actually be a huge one for some of you. We have done kind of whole Q&As on health insurance in the past. So if you have questions there, I'm glad to answer them. The biggest things to look at with health insurance, you've got alternatives that you can go to. So you can definitely check healthcare.gov. You can see if there's something that you're eligible for that might be lower than what you're currently paying. If your employer offers health insurance, then you are not going to be eligible. I'm pretty sure in most areas you have to choose your employer's health insurance policy, and hopefully they're going to help pay something towards that. But one option for you, if you really can't afford it at all, is to look into some of the MediShare programs that are out there. We have done this for years, and MediShare is where you are going to pay, really you're helping to pay other people's medical costs, but you do not technically have health insurance. And they emphasize that. So I'm going to use their wording on that too, because they are not technically an insurance, but they are approved in terms of a grandfathered plan and whatnot. I know there are no fees if you don't have health insurance at this point, but they're approved. We've actually never had issues with them. We've had a number of friends that also use these types of programs, never had issues. The payments always come through. Cost-wise, for our family of 7 people, it's like $450 a month compared to a high deductible health insurance plan that was upwards of $1,300 a month. And the deductibles on the MediShare programs we've done the Christian MediShare, we've done Samaritan's Ministries, they were both great, but the out-of-pockets and the deductible costs were half, if not even less, than the traditional insurance plan. So it's something to look into. The one warning, both of those programs, part of the reason that their cost can remain low is that they do still exclude pre-existing conditions for a certain period of time. It's not a permanent exclusion. I know MediShare is a 3-year window, but they do exclude pre-existing conditions. That's what's killing health insurance costs right now. That's just the way that it's the way that it works. So because pre-existing conditions are not excluded on any health insurance policies, that's what's kind of skyrocketing some of those costs over what we used to pay. MediShare, Samaritan's Ministries, there's a few others that are out there, do not cover pre-existing conditions. So that will nix it for some of you. But if you don't have any pre-existing conditions, it's worth looking into. Another idea is actually kind of splitting your family up. So if you've got some healthy folks in the family and some not healthy folks, you can have multiple policies. I can put all the healthy crew on a MediShare plan, and I can put just the not healthy folks on a actual insurance plan that is going to cover their pre-existing conditions. I'm actually not going to pay more for them. I'm not going to pay more for the fact that they aren't healthy. That's one perk there. I guess if you have a ton of pre-existing conditions, your rate's not going to be increased. You're just going to pay based on your age. But that could be a significant savings for your family to divide your family up. I'm not saying that it will be, but it's worth playing around. So open enrollment again starts on November 1st, but you can start to play around with this before November 1st. One other plug in terms of saving on health insurance when that comes around, there are a number of insurance brokers. I have no doubt there are some in your city, and they can actually get you plugged in even on healthcare.gov plans, but you don't pay for their services. They kind of get a kickback from the insurance company, but it does not affect your rates at all. And going through one of those brokers can be a great way to make sure that you really have exhausted all the policies and all the ways that you could bring down that cost without having to pay. You're like getting to tap into somebody who does this for a living. Take advantage of those folks. Even if you don't end up with a policy, you still know that you have done all the legwork on seeing what the options are in your area. We have worked with somebody like that for a number of years in our area. And I know that there are other folks out there just kind of do some digging, find an insurance broker in your area. It's totally worth it since you don't pay for it. And then in the end, hopefully you can save. Okay. Oh, and Wendy, in terms of like the Medicare supplemental parts, that was your other question. That's another one that an insurance broker, going directly with them, that they can help you plug in to the right supplemental insurances that kind of fit for what you need to go with your Part Bs and Cs and all the other ones if you want to add them in. I would push you towards that. I would push you towards just getting connected with an insurance broker in town. That does not mean getting connected with like buy low. Everybody these days sells a Part B, Part C, etc. It's not necessarily like, it's because they can make money on it, but it is not necessarily a deal for you. So I would just go through an insurance broker and see what they're offering and do some homework. You can look around too. You don't have to buy a policy from them, but just kind of doing some legwork to see which policies you need. And I think if you find a good one, they'll even tell you like, oh, you really aren't going to need this one right now, or you don't have enough prescriptions that this is worthwhile for this or that. They will be a huge help for you on finding the right way to go. Okay, and Rose is saying she found an insurance broker and it's been much more coverage and she only pays a little bit more a month in terms of what that broker was able to find her, which is great, to be in a much better policy. If that's working for you, then perfect. That's exactly why they're there, is to kind of help you hold your hand and to know that you have found like the right fit for your family when it comes to all the options that are out there. Okay, and let's jump into a few ideas here to make a little bit of side money as we go into the holidays. There are some ways still to earn money online, and some that we mentioned months and months ago still around. A big one that you've definitely heard of in the news, but they're still hiring, is contract tracers. It's hard to say, but just doing a Google search for contract tracers in your area, contact tracers in your area. It's really running through the health departments, but they are hiring folks that you're basically tracking down who this person's been in contact with. They're paying really well, and that is a job that you can do from home. We're also seeing a lot more online jobs popping in for even retailers. As more and more people are shopping online, they are needing more and more customer service to help those folks shop online. So just doing a general search for online customer service positions. Even Amazon's hiring in a lot of areas. You can do a search for Amazon work at home jobs and you'll end up at kind of the Amazon hub for that. I mentioned at the beginning tonight, even Target, when I was headed into Target to take some pictures this weekend, Target's got a sandwich board sign out front that they are hiring for the holidays, and so many others are. If you don't want to go into the retail side, there's still a lot of ways that you can kind of make that extra money without having to leave the house. So you can definitely go into actual jobs or getting creative. Some of the things that I've mentioned in the past, if you have an artistic side, this is a great time of the year to plug that in and start to sell things online. You can sell photos online, selling art online. You would be surprised what you could even sell through just using Facebook Marketplace. Do you need to go and create an Etsy site? I mean, if you're super artsy, maybe, but you could just post your own art. I've got so many friends that paint and they just use Instagram, sharing their paintings, sharing what the things they're creating, and they're selling it just through their Instagram account. But if you've got that talent and the time to do things, there are a lot of folks that would love to do DIY gifts basically for Christmas, but don't have the time. You could be doing that for them. So if you're artistic in any way, just sticking it out there and seeing what you can sell, it doesn't hurt at all to try to make that little bit of extra that you can. Another one that is definitely still out there, guys, is mystery shopping. And I know I've mentioned this one before too, but with mystery shopping, and you can go digging, I've shared some of the big companies for mystery shopping, but they're still paying. one in particular, I'm trying to, you know what, I'll just pull up my email because I don't even remember the name of the company. Begging, I got an email last week begging for people to do UPS shops. And so you go and you pay to ship something, and they pay you to write it up and for your time, and they pay you to ship it. They pay you back for all of your shipping expenses, and you're supposed to pay for boxes and the tape, whatever it comes to, they're paying for it. So when you sign up for these, this is my, thought I was gonna share my email with you there for a second. Let's see if I can get it to pull up. I have to click some buttons to make it go away. It does not want to pull up. Here we go. Sorry guys. Share my email with you. I keep it in its own little tab. Oh, don't do that. So this is the company that I was mentioning, but IPSOS is the name of the company, Ipsos, and their shipping shops are back. So they pay you $35 to go and do the shop, and they reimburse you for all the packaging materials and the shipping costs. So if you wanted to ship a present to somebody, you just got your shipping paid for, plus you got paid $35 to do this shop. So it really does still exist. This email came through Tuesday, September 29th. So it was last Tuesday that I got it, and they needed this like that week. But you will get, when you get hooked up into the companies, there's no cost for legitimate mystery shopping. Companies don't ever pay to join a company, but you'll get emails like this all the time of what you can quickly sign up for, and you shoot them an email back. You're gonna get paid for your time, and you're gonna get fully reimbursed for whatever it is that you had them do. It can be a good side money, but it can also be a great way to get paid for something that you already needed to do. One that we did on a regular basis was oil changes for our Chevy Suburban. As long as you met the requirements and you had the car they needed, it paid for your oil change plus time while you did the write-up. So, why not? The car needs an oil change, and I'm gonna get paid an extra $50 to write this up. So it is a very easy way to pay for the things you need and make some side money. And a lot of folks look at, we look at surveys online. Those can make a tiny bit of money, but they aren't gonna pay off a bill. Mystery shopping really could pay off a bill. So just to mention that one as you go into the holidays, because we see more and more of them pop up around the holidays. The stores want to know what their customer service is, even when people are stressed out. So it is a good way to get plugged in this time of year on something. So do I do the Ipsos mystery shops myself? Sometimes I will, and I totally would have on that UPS one until I looked at the cities. And just to show you again on the cities, for me to do this one, the closest city to our area, this was a list of cities, and you may not be able to read it, but the closest city to us is, I guess, Walterboro, South Carolina, but that would be like 55 minutes away. So this particular email, I just kind of ignored because no, I'm not going to drive 50 minutes to a Walterboro to ship something to get paid $35. But if they are in our neck of the woods and it's something that I already needed to do or wanted to do, then definitely. I've done them at Kroger's, been a mystery shopper in the Kroger deli. We've done car oil changes. Bank shops are available. There's a number of them that you can make. Bank shops pay really well, but they do take a little bit of time because most bank shops ask for you to go into the bank and to actually set up an account. So just keep that in mind, but they do pay really well. So yes, I am I won't say an avid user for mystery shoppers. I was wanting to say that my words are just, I guess I've just hit like exhaustion mode, but words are not coming. I will definitely promote them for you. And I would say for us, whenever they are in the area, they're not super out of my way, I will gladly jump in them as well. And Janelle, yes, I do recommend that you do sign up for several sites. Again, don't pay for any of them, but several companies. So Ipsos, which is offering they're the, I guess it's UPS or USPS shops. They are not the same companies that do the Chevrolet oil change shop. So it's kind of, figuring out who's got what. You'll even find some for restaurants, though I doubt there's a ton for restaurants right now. But there are companies that even handle those. So signing up for a few free companies and just seeing what offers come into your inbox or through their panels is the huge way to go. And Janelle, in terms of finding the sites, I will, we have posted, it's older. I need to probably even make sure that it is all current links, but I will find an article for you that we've done and share that so that you can go through and definitely try this. It is an older one, and I'll try to go through in the next day or two and update any links that aren't working either. But this was a making money mystery shopping and kind of the basics of how it works and some of the main companies that we've used in the past. So I'll get my husband to stick that in the comments for you so that you can see it. Oh, and I was trying to share my screen. When I kicked it over to my email, there we go. So this is the post that we'll stick in the comments for you. It's just the basics on how mystery shopping works, but there are some links here, and I will just check and make sure when we're done, try to update it on finding new links if any of them have gone or changed their websites, whatnot, in the last couple of years. And Wendy says she worked at a bank for 44 years and she could always tell when she was being mystery shopped. So you're supposed to try to be inconspicuous, but it is a little tricky. The shops will tell you that they want you to ask a specific question or to do a specific thing. And, I would imagine, Wendy, that, yeah, you probably do learn, no one ever asks that question except a mystery shopper. Oh, well. We try. We're not allowed to tell you that we're mystery shopping, but we try to be inconspicuous if we can. So in terms of this list that I've been going through, there is another link that my husband may have already even put it in for you guys, but this is one, we actually did this as a Q&A. Some of you guys were probably there on 22 ways that you could make money, and I put them all into a post. So to go through this, look at these, use the links, just a ton of ideas of ways that you could make money. Most of them are still up and going. I will say one, as we scroll through, there are a couple in here that are teaching English in China, and I know those particular companies are not currently accepting new teachers, but there are still ways to teach online. There's a ton of ways to be a teacher online right now, just not English in a foreign country. They're still doing that. They're just not accepting new teachers right now. But everything else is. So, head there, look at this really long list and get some ideas of ways that you could make some extra money this holiday season or going into next year. It's a great way to just kind of have, just some side play money if that's what you need, or some ways to pay off some bills, however you want to look at it. But that's there. So we'll stick that link in the comments for you. My husband may have already done it a while ago, and use that list. So Josie, your question, I need a computer for my son. Any coupons for Dell refurbished? There were some, Josie, let me see when they ended. A lot of times their coupons end on Monday nights. So let's see, I just end up going to my email because they send them to me every week. And I know we posted them, I want to say, over the weekend as well. Let's see what I can find for you. We've got 30% off any laptop. Oh, no, just kidding. That was last weekend. Just kidding. Here we go. Yes, 35% off any item in stock. Even better. So Josie, I'll put this coupon code for you in the comments. It's kind of a longer one, but it's just for you, the letter U, deal 35. It's 35% off any item that's in stock, and that is good through tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So you should shop tonight if you can. I wouldn't really put it off, but all of their coupon codes, when they run good coupon codes, they run Friday morning through basically Monday night. So hopefully you can use that one, Josie, and be able to find a deal that you're needing. Dell refurbished is always our go-to whenever they have a good coupon code, and 35% isn't bad. Plus you get free ground shipping on any of those that you wanted. And Janelle, yes, so 1099s with mystery shop companies, if you earn more than their threshold, which is usually $600, that's the government's requirement, they will send you a 1099 for additional earnings. You are still supposed to really report any earnings, even if you didn't get a 1099 and you didn't earn $600, but it is still earnings that would go onto your taxes, whether they send a 1099 or not. But most of them, it's that $600 threshold for earnings before they will send a 1099. So, it's up to you to report. So, yeah. Okay. To jump back in, and give you guys a heads up on just in general. The reason I wanted to do budgets tonight and talk about just ways to cut different categories is because we are going into crazy holiday mode, and next week is going to feel like it. So next week is Amazon Prime Days on Mondays and Tuesday, am I right on that? Monday and Tuesday, the 13th and 14th. Making me look at my calendar now, kind of questioning that. Nope, sorry. So Tuesday and Wednesday, Amazon Prime Day, Tuesday and Wednesday, but everyone's messing with me. So Walmart has come out. They announced yesterday they are going to also run a kind of counter to Amazon Prime Day. Walmart's deal days are going to start on Sunday and run until Thursday. They're making theirs 2 days longer. Target will be matching Amazon's days of Tuesday and Wednesday. And they are all saying that it's going to be basically a pre-Black Friday. So we're looking at potentials of electronic deals that are 30% off for TVs, up to 50% off on Amazon devices. I've seen some pre-deals, can't say you saw them here, but a lot of deals on Amazon brands. Keep in mind, Amazon makes everything now from clothing to dog food. Most of their house brands, 40% off for Amazon Prime Day. So 40% off their clothing lines, 40% off their grocery, 40% off paper goods. It could be a great time to grab things. If you are not an Amazon Prime member, these deals will not apply. So it could be a good time to grab a free trial of Amazon Prime if you're interested, or looking at the deals that are running at Target, the deals that are running at Walmart. We do see, just like Amazon tends to price match all of Target's deals, they're going to do the same thing. So they're going to watch Amazon's deals and they're going to price match Amazon's deals all day long. It's just it's everybody trying to beat each other for 2 solid days. And who knows what Walmart's plan is for the extended days, but they're going to try something, I guess. So you need to kind of figure out where you want to do the shopping from, but it could be a great time to grab items. The biggest things to watch for Amazon branded items, so your Kindles and your Fires and your Fire Sticks, obviously those things, this is sometimes lower than we even see them on Black Friday, but that is what we're going to end up discussing next Monday night. So we're going to talk pre-Prime Day since it's going to start on Tuesday morning. But we'll already, I guess, have an idea of what Walmart's deal days looks like. But we'll also go through just what to expect price-wise for a lot of the items over the holiday season, so that you have an idea come Tuesday morning. Do you jump or do you not jump? Are we going to see it lower or not? I'll try my best to hit a lot of those categories. But if you've got items that you're wanting deals on, let me know. Be there, be in the comments, share what you're looking for. And I can try my best to make sure that I let you know if I see them too, but we can definitely talk about what those prices are going to look like, where to look for the best deals for those items. So that's going to be next Monday night, 8:30, kind of like a holiday preview, but really kind of hitting all of the things that we expect for next week. So I hope you can make it. Monday night, 8:30, always the same time, 8:30 Eastern. Online. I will be on tomorrow with all of the top drugstore deals. So Tuesday at 2 for CVS and Walgreens deals. So hopefully you can make that one too. If you can't, you can always watch any of these after the fact. So, they're saved, YouTube or on Facebook video. So hopefully this helps you guys. Thanks for joining in tonight. If you've got questions or you watch later and you have questions, shoot me an email, jenny@southernsavers.com, or a Facebook message, or even leaving a YouTube comment. Those pop up on my phone, so I will generally see where your questions are. I'll try to keep tabs on them and try to answer you guys there too. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you again soon. Y'all have a good night.